Well, the time has come for us to sum up. I don't think these two need any introduction at this point. Anders, let me start with you. What are your big takeaways from the last day and a half?
I think it's been two incredible days. I'm very pleased with how the summit has gone. I think we struck the right balance with substantive speeches from politicians, strong messages from business leaders on how industry can stand up for democracy. But most importantly, hearing directly from those on the front lines in the struggle for democracy. It's always been my ambition that the Copenhagen Democracy Summit should be a doing shop, not just a talking shop. So I'm very pleased that we have seen a lot of concrete initiatives today, not only the impressive DemTech fellows, but also the president of the European Commission, who presented a European democracy shield yesterday, and as we just heard today, they have discussed it in the European Commission. That's a direct link from the summit to the Commission work. Secondly, yesterday I launched, together with Andriy Yermak from Ukraine, an ambitious plan as to how we can move forward and present a new approach, a new strategy for Ukraine in the lead up to the NATO summit in July in Washington, D.C. And let me finally mention a third initiative, the IPAC Free World Pledge on supporting democratic Taiwan, where politicians from across the world pledge to really respond massively if China attacks Taiwan. These are just 3 out of a lot of concrete messages from this summit, so I'm very pleased.
Suzanne.
Yeah, I would, picking up on some of those points here, that mix of voices that we heard here. So, you know, huge players in private and government like Richard Branson or, you know, the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. But I think Ukraine is very important, laying the ground for discussion that is going to step up in the next few months before the NATO summit, which is what next for Ukraine, what next in terms of its integration into the defence system of the West. I mean, and I couldn't help being struck just earlier. I was speaking to someone there, and, you know, the reality of what's happening now on the ground in Ukraine, President Zelensky, who had supposed to be visiting Spain and Portugal and is now not going to because of the situation, what's happening in the northeast of the country. So this is the reality that's happening in Ukraine now. So kind of focusing, I suppose, on what should happen next, what's the responsibility of allies, I think is very timely. Another standout for me was kind of a bit more, I suppose, personal. Covering this as a journalist, I've been writing this global playbook for here. I've been trying to grab people for interviews. And yesterday, I spoke to one of the Democracy Tech Fellows, Georgi Gagua. He's a co-founder of Project 64. So I interviewed him just out there about what he was doing. And while we were speaking, the news was coming in on his phone about what was happening in Georgia, the foreign agents bill that was being put through, and he was watching this. And it was just this kind of split screen moment for me about having these people here when literally these momentous events are happening, spilling over into our world here at home in their countries. And it was just a very kind of telling indication of that mix of how, when we talk at forums like this, how it's directly intersecting with real-world events abroad. So that kind of, I think, is one of those memories that will stay with me from the last few days.
Yes, several of the DemTech fellows were so eloquent in talking about what was going on in Georgia. I wonder, Anders, if there's anything you'd like to say about the situation, any message you want to deliver to people there?
Yeah, I think all of us have been moved by the news from Tbilisi, and what we are watching taking place in Georgia is horrific. And we have seen this playbook before in Putin's Russia. And the democratic world must stand with the protesters in Georgia. That's a clear message from this summit. Europe must act and show there are real consequences if the government forces force through this bill. We should send a very strong message to those trying to push Georgia down the path of autocracy.
Did you want to add?
Yeah, I mean,
Suzanne?
I think it's again very telling. I mean, there was some controversy as well over the last 24 hours about how long it took the EU to come out with a statement. You know, divides maybe within the EU, within the Commission on this. I'm not going to speculate too much, but you know that there's a frantic almost desire from these countries that their message is heard. And one of the other themes that kind of I've been picking up over the last few days is this importance of those in exile, the diaspora.
Who were all so powerful.
Yes, who are also powerful. I mean, talking to Mr. Lopez, you know, what an amazing person and speaker.
Masi.
Yes, exactly. That they are the voice that those people don't have. And a diaspora can be very, very powerful. I mean, the Armenian diaspora in America, I'm from Ireland, people may notice in my own, you know, going back centuries, the power of the Irish diaspora can affect political change in countries. So it was quite interesting to hear these very eloquent, passionate, very informed voices here, giving a voice to people who don't have a voice often in these countries. So I think that's another theme, I think, that was running through the last few days.
And those personal testimonials, the stories, the things they had been through, I think moved everybody here and everybody watching online.
Yeah, and I think as well, I mean, the power of the voice, as you were saying there, Anders, those stories, particularly with this other big theme we've been discussing, which is technology and the power of social media and like who speaks for who and who owns a narrative. Those kind of issues are very complex, and the last few panels there were fascinating about, you know, what role does the private sector have? What role do regulators like the European Commission have on this? You know, which narrative gets pushed and why? These are all very, you know, fluid and modern issues that democracies are dealing with. I don't think there are any answers, but we definitely discussed them here over the last few days. And I think the task is colossal, but having that buy-in from the social media companies, as well as government actors, I think is crucial.
Anders, thank you so much for hosting us all here today and yesterday. It's been a terrific conference. I want to thank you personally. Thank you, Suzanne, also. And Anders, I want to hand things over to you for some final words.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Dean, and thank you, Suzanne, for leading us through this program, and thank you to all the others who have moderated discussions. So we are now coming to the end of the 7th Copenhagen Democracy Summit, and I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of the people who have made these past 2 days possible. Thank you to our sponsors and partners who support both this summit and our other programs in the foundation. Thank you to the leaders and activists who have traveled from around the world to speak from this stage and in many side events. Thank you to all of the staff and volunteers who have put this together. And not least, of course, thank you to you, our guests. I would say, first of all, I would encourage you to set a date in your diaries, 13th and 14th May 2025, for the 8th Copenhagen Democracy Summit. I would just stress, dictators shouldn't apply. And my final word would be that we have experienced so many fascinating democracy activists on stage. I could mention all of them, but I think Masih Aladinejad's session was electrifying on the plight of Iranian women and dissidents fighting the Iranian regime. As she said, the regime can kill me, they can kill us all, but they can never kill our ideas. That's exactly why we are here. And I will conclude by quoting one of the Demtechs who said, "Glory to liberty." Thank you, all of you.